shut up. I'm recording a podcast. Yeah. Okay, here we go.
Okay.
Love that for us. Me not knowing how to work Zoom.
I
Okay,
don't know.
so
I
we see
barely know.
attendees. Hi guys, sorry for the late start.
Hey everyone.
Me not knowing how to work Zoom, but we're 2 years later, but we're here. All right, I'm just gonna start talking. Thank you for coming. I do anticipate, yeah, I see people rolling in. We're gonna keep having people probably continue to roll in. So everyone, please feel free to use the chat with any thoughts or questions. We of course cannot see you, but chat is open, so please feel free to use it. You also should have a raise your hand feature. If you have a question, and I can unmute you, I believe, so just feel free to use what we have at our disposal here. Alrighty, and I'm just going to dive right in. So, hello everyone, welcome. I'm going to start with introductions. Jelani and I will introduce ourselves, and then I think from there, I'm just going to let you know what to expect from today, and the list in front of me, and then I think we'll be good to go. So hello everyone, welcome. My name is Ashlee. I am a therapist, of course, at DBT of South Jersey. Been with the practice about 3 years. Low-key, tomorrow's my anniversary. Just noticing that right this second. Is that cute or what? So yeah, about 3 years with DBT of South Jersey. Been doing DBT a little while longer. I'm excited for today. Short and sweet. Take it away, Jelani.
That is real cute, Ashlee, that it's about to be your anniversary.
I know, I'm like a little bit that happened. The world was looking out for me somewhere.
But I'm Jelani, and I'm also a therapist here at DBT of South Jersey. Funny story, Ashlee and I used to work together at Princeton House. But I just started working at DBT of South Jersey like a few months ago. So yeah.
We're reunited.
Reunited feels so good.
No, but seriously. All right, let's bust out here the slideshow. Me also not knowing how to use a slideshow. Give me 1 second. Sharing the screen, slideshow. Okay, we're good. And again, just because we have people still kind of trickling in here, any questions, thoughts, concerns of any kind, please feel free to utilize the chat. Jelani and I will be back and forth talking, so we're going to be taking turns. So someone will have their eyes on the chat if anything comes up. If we move too quickly or if anything feels confusing, please feel free to throw something in the chat and let us know. All right, let's go ahead and dive in.
All right, so to get us started, just kind of wanted to go over behaviors to increase and decrease in regards to interpersonal effectiveness and interpersonal chaos. I kind of want to do this backwards. So I want to start over at the right, behaviors to decrease. So we call this interpersonal chaos. So what does that mean? We're talking about ineffective conflict, like yelling at each other, manipulation.
Passive aggressive kind of stuff.
Yeah,
I'm fine. No, I'm not even mad.
Exactly. We want to decrease all those things. We also want to work on decreasing putting others' wants and needs above our own. We call that kind of caretaking, wanting to make sure that everybody else is all good and that they're taken care of and that they're happy, and just completely neglecting what we want or what we need. Also, another thing we want to decrease is not knowing what we need and what we want. That's really important too. Like, we need to know what it is we want and need from a person. They're not going to mind read. They're not going to automatically know. So we want to work on decreasing that behavior. Then we have people pleasing. So just kind of doing all these different things to make sure that other people are happy. Kind of being like a yes person. Not being able to ask or say no. That's definitely something we want to work on decreasing as well. It's important that we ask for what we need. Again, we may have an expectation that some people should know what we want, but we need to make sure we're being verbal about it. And also, it's important that we're able to say no. It's important for the relationship in regards to ourselves and to the other person to be able to set boundaries. Boundaries are both for the protection of the relationship and the protection of yourself. And then we have our behaviors to increase on the left. So this is when we talk about interpersonal effectiveness, which is what we're going to talk about today. So in DBT, we have a whole bunch of skills that are acronyms. So you see Dear Man, Give, and Fast here. We are going to be reviewing Dear Man today. Dear Man is a skill where you are trying to meet an objective. You're trying to get something that you want, or trying to say no. So we're going to go a little bit more into that in a little bit. Then we have Give, which stands for being gentle, acting interested, validation, and easy manner. That's a skill you want to use to maintain a relationship. So if you know that somebody is important to you, it's being able to utilize that to let them know, to make sure they know that they're important to you. Then we have Fast, which stands for being fair, no apologies, sticking to the, then I have sticking to the facts.
Your values.
And then what am I missing? Oh, being truthful. So Fast is used to kind of maintain your self-respect. When you know that something is important to you and you want to stand up for it, you want to utilize Fast. And then lastly, dialectics. It's one of my favorite things, but also so difficult at the same time. Dialectics teaches us that there are two kernels of truth. And how like two opposing things can both be true. So like it could be sunny and it could be raining. Like those are two opposite things, but they can both be true. Or like I can love my mom and she can also frustrate me. So those are things that we want to work on increasing to then help us with better communication, boundary setting, and just kind of understanding of other people.
Mm-hmm. And just backing up, I'm like getting excited. Backing up just a tiny bit more. Our goal for today, I didn't even say this, I said I was going to and I didn't. Goal for today and how Jelani and I have this presentation set up today is starting off really general. Like this slide is pretty general. Here's what you can expect from interpersonal effectiveness and the function of it and why we're even talking about this. From here, we're gonna go a little bit more into the Dear Man. And then from there, we're gonna really zero in on the dime game. But we were just thinking like, it's really important to know why we're even using the dime game, what sorts of situation would prompt us to need to use it. Like we just wanted to set the scene a little bit. So also just really quickly, I don't know if you guys can see my mouse here. I'm hoping you can, moving around here, but this little C in parentheses here next to interpersonal effectiveness. Something else to know about DBT in addition to all the acronyms is that DBT really, really loves balance, probably like more than anything else, top 3 for sure, balance. So we have out of our 4 main skill modules that we teach, 2 of them are dedicated for acceptance. And then the other 2 are dedicated for change. Interpersonal effectiveness is one of those modules dedicated to change. So as Jelani mentioned, changes in how you manage conflict, changes in how you approach your relationships and how you communicate and things like that. I think that's everything for here. Okay. Next, anyway. I'm like trying to change the slide and it's not working the same every time. It's doing whatever it wants, but here we are. Here's the overview of the Dear Man skill. So I'm going to start by going over this and then I'm going to pick an example. I'm going to also use that same example when the time comes for us to go through the dime game. So we'll just keep the continuity with that. So as Jelani mentioned before too, we would use the Dear Man skill when we're trying to meet an objective. So when we need to ask somebody for something, when we need to get something. That can be really anything. When we need to ask somebody for something or when we need to say no to somebody else's request. And again, that can be anything. So the top part here, the dear, is the actual words you're going to say. And for the most part, the man are how you're going to go about saying it and different things to keep at the forefront of your mind, not necessarily things you're going to say out loud. We'll get to it more, of course, but with the exception of negotiate. Negotiations, of course, if they're present in the interaction, could be said out loud. So starting off with describe. So I like to think about this as getting the other person on the same page as you. So if I'm going to ask, If I'm going to ask somebody for something, I couldn't just be like, oh, hey, Jelani, can I borrow $1,000? She would probably have like several questions. What do you mean? We work together, so I know you work. What's going on? Like, are you having problems? Did something happen? Like, if Jelani, as my friend, is going to lend me like that much money, she's probably going to want like a question or 2 answered instead of me blindsiding her by just like, coming in hot with a pretty big or out of nowhere kind of request. And I always say, like, make this as short as sweet as you can, because if I go into the whole like 40-minute backstory, Jelani's eyes are gonna glaze over. She's gonna be like, lady, can you, like, I care about you, but can you please get to the point? Like, I'm running late. Like, I have to get to work. Like, you need to spit it out, kind of a thing. And again, the goal of this is to be as effective as possible. So it's not going to be effective if we overshare or give examples or details that aren't totally required or necessary or helpful. So I'm not going to ask Jelani for $1,000, but we're rolling with that just for the time being. Hey, Jelani, so I just got a new car. A lot of my clients canceled. I'm so short on cash this week. Do you think you'd be willing to let me borrow however much money? She might still have questions, which are valid, and she should definitely ask them before saying yes or no. But I'm giving her a little bit more detail as to what's even leading me to have this issue that I need help with. Short, sweet, 2 to 3 sentences if you can. If you need more, use more, but as short and sweet as you can. Also being mindful here to just use the facts of the situation, so not going too much into, I'm feeling overwhelmed. Again, like, these are the newspaper headlines to get the other person on the same page as you. Next is express. So here's where you have your dedicated point to share your feelings and emotions about the situation. I'm feeling really worried. I'm feeling really anxious. I'm really excited, whatever it is. Again, I tend to say try to leave this one kind of short and sweet too. And I only say that because, Jelani, if I say, like, here's what's going on with me, I'm feeling really tired, stressed, anxious, frustrated, I'm so annoyed, and I just start labeling emotions, Jelani's gonna be like, that's a lot of feelings. Like, that could totally be overwhelming for someone to hear.
Mm-hmm.
And that is very much not to say, like, don't do justice to the emotions that you're feeling, but I would say label, like, your most core feelings, your most primary emotions, or like your top 3, maybe top 5 if you feel like you need to include your top 5. But I would try to say, like, what are the loudest emotions that you're feeling? And those are definitely the ones to communicate to whoever it is that you're talking to. Whichever emotions feels like it captures it as close to 100% as possible. Next here is assert. So this is like where you're coming in hot, not too hot, but you're coming in like lukewarm, but you're directly and clearly asking or denying somebody else's request. Can I borrow $1,000? Can you let me borrow a pen? Can I go with you to go to Wawa? Whatever it is. Something I always tell people about this part in particular is you cannot guarantee that the other person is going to say yes to your request, and you can't guarantee that they're going to be respectful if you say no to their request. You don't know the outcome and you can't control the outcome. However, I'm always thinking, like, what do you need to do and how do you need to communicate to make sure that you leave the situation feeling confident in how you handled it? No matter what the outcome is, I want you and everyone else practicing this skill to leave it feeling like, I don't know what they're going to say, we'll see, but I know I couldn't have been more clear. I know I was really clear and I was really direct, and I'm proud about how I handled it. And it's totally the whole skill, but I do think a lot of it comes with the assert, because, hey, Jelani, can I borrow $5 is very different from, do you think, like, if you have a little bit of extra money, like, I don't know, $2 would be fine, but I really need 5. Like, what are you asking for? You're not going to feel super confident about, yeah, I was clear, because Jelani doesn't know the extent and why you're asking for $5. I forgot my wallet at home. I'm really worried I'm going to get hangry during sessions. Do you have $5 I can borrow, or can I borrow $5? Something like that. Again, you just want to make sure that you're as clear, direct, not aggressive, but clear and direct as you can be. Next here is reinforcing. So what's in it for them? What positive consequences will come if that person says yes to your request, if they give you what you're asking for, or if they respect and gently accept your no. And bare minimum, I would say, like, it should be appreciation. So if you're going to ask somebody for something and they're going to do it or give it to you, bare minimum, I think it should be like, thank you, I really appreciate it. It does not have to be word for word that, of course, but thank you, I really appreciate it. But there are other things that could come too. If I'm asking, there's an example in the book the DBT manual. And I don't know, I think it's the adult one. I don't think it's the teen one, but it's interchangeable, I guess. Something about somebody coming home late and the person delivering the Dear Man is asking the other person to just like give them a heads up. Like if you're going to be late, if you're going to come home late, just tell me. And the reinforcer is I'm not going to get it word for word, but it's something like, I would be a lot easier to live with if you could just tell me you're going to be late. Sign me up. You're going to be easier to live with. Like that's reinforcing. I will definitely tell you if I'm going to be late. So it has to be reinforcing for the person and the relationship. And it also has to be true. Like I really will feel calmer. I'll trust you more. And therefore I will be easier to live with if you can just tell me that you're running late. But again, bare minimum, I would really appreciate it. This does not always have to be a physical thing that you're reinforcing somebody with, although it can be. Like if I'm gonna try not to throw out too many different examples, but they're coming to me. If I'm gonna ask my niece to clean up whatever game we're playing before we move on to our next activity together. Her name is Ella. Hey Ella, I know we're having so much fun together, but I'm really worried that if we just keep going from one thing to another, we're gonna have like a huge mess by the end of the night. I need us to both work together to get this room clean before we move on to the next thing. If you can do this, we will make priority, like we will make TikTok a priority. We'll make 3 videos together or whatever would be reinforcing to her. So all she knows is like, okay, cool. We're going to be making TikToks. I'm going to get what I want. And like, she's not going to be nagging me to keep cleaning. Done. Like, let's do it. So that's the dear. Next section here for man is being mindful, keeping your eyes on the prize, staying focused, and avoiding attacks as much as you can. Let's keep picking on my niece. If she brings up, but Aunt Ashlee, I really want to make these TikToks. She's over here. I need to gently bring her back to the task at hand. I hear you. I'm really looking forward to making TikToks too, but this room really needs to get cleaned up before we can do that. But there's this new dance. I did see it. You sent it to me. I saw it, and I can't wait to practice it after we clean up this room. So staying focused on your goals over and over again, even though, of course, like if you do have to do it over and over again, that could get really frustrating, and yet it's really important. Thinking about avoiding attacks, I would say avoid them and ignore them as much as you can. Oh my God, Aunt Ashlee, you're so annoying. Okay, and we still have to get the room clean. But if I get stuck in that, if I get roped in, then I'm arguing with an 11-year-old. I thought I was lying and she's 10. No, she's 11 now. I'm arguing with an 11-year-old, and then the room is also not getting cleaned. And I'm arguing with an 11-year-old. So I'm not super proud of how I'm handling the situation either. It's just not effective. If it's a different situation and becomes unsafe, that of course is different, and safety should be number one always. But depending on what the attacks look like, you can ignore or avoid them. Next here is appearing confident. My favorite part about that one is it doesn't say to be confident. It says appear confident. And if you are actually confident, that's great. But if you're like pretending just to get through the situation, that is okay too. So for that one, you want to be really mindful, of course, of your tone of voice, the volume that you're speaking, eye contact, not saying things like whatever, I don't care. Because if it was whatever, and if you didn't care, why are you asking for it? You care, don't bail on it. Even if the conversation gets difficult. Lastly, here is negotiate. And I just wrote here, if it's possible to negotiate and if it's necessary, because not every situation is going to require negotiation. It's not appropriate to negotiate in every situation. I use this really extreme, hopefully no one will ever be in this position. I use this really extreme example in groups just to paint the picture. It would never happen. But if a friend calls me and is like, hey, Ashlee, what's up? Hey, I just wanted to know, do you want to like go into the city and go get drugs? That's going to be a hard no. That's going to like, no, hard no. I'm not going to negotiate. I'm not going to say like, well, let's get them from somewhere else, or let's get them next week. I'm not negotiating. The answer is no. So extreme example, of course, but if it violates your values, if that's a question, you don't have any obligation to negotiate. Okay, and again, I know there's a lot there, and if we had more time, I'd be going a little bit slower. You guys know the deal. I won't keep saying it. Throw questions in the chat and we can pause at any point. You're going to hear my dog barking, so I'm going to mute myself while I go to the next slide, but that's the Dear Man skill.
Solid rundown, Ashlee, of Dear Man. Excuse me. I like to think of, I know we're not going over give and fast today, but if you do look that up, I like to think of Dear Man as kind of like the ice cream cone. That's kind of like the core of what you're going to use when you're speaking to someone. And then like your give and your fast are kind of like your ice cream flavors. You're going to sprinkle those on top. Okay, but next we're going to go over questions to consider. This is kind of like your homework that you're going to do before you're actually going to use the skill. So the first thing is asking yourself, like, am I capable of giving them what they want, or are they capable of giving me what I want? So as you think about this, you want to think about, okay, so if they do have what I want, then that means I can maybe increase some type of intensity of me asking if I know that they have it. And if they don't, then I have to think about, what am I asking for? Can they give that to me? And if I don't have what they want from me, then my no is probably going to be a little bit more intense. Then you want to ask yourself, what is the priority? So priority meaning, is it to meet an objective? So that's Dear Man. Is it to maintain the relationship, keep it going? That's give. Or is it to increase my self-respect, which is fast? So before you even utilize an interpersonal effectiveness skill, you want to know what you want to get out of the conversation. Then will asking help me feel confident? Will saying no make me feel bad about myself? So this kind of is about, how important is it to you to ask for this or say no? And I think thinking about your confidence level can be very telling of that. So for instance, if I were to ask someone, maybe like setting a boundary, like, can you please not say that word around me? Like that may make me feel really confident if I can say that. Like that's me sticking up for like something that's important to me. And then like, will saying no make me feel bad about myself? Thinking about, if someone were, going off of Ashlee's example, like if someone were to ask me to do drugs, like if saying no makes me feel good about myself, then I'm going to increase the intensity of that. Or, you know, or if it was the other way around of, let's say, I don't know, like someone asked me to do an innocent favor of like giving them a ride. And I just say no, just because I feel like it. Maybe that's going to make me feel bad just because I was capable of doing it, but I just felt like saying no. So, you know, there's just things to consider in regards to your confidence level and what you're asking for. Number 4 is the person required by law or moral code to give me what I'm asking for, or am I required? I think this goes back to what Ashlee was saying too. And like when you're asserting something, sometimes our expectation or our assumption is like, I'm doing this hard work to ask for something because sometimes that's hard to do. And the expectation is that they're going to be like, yeah, I got you, like, I'll do it. And that's not always going to happen. So you just have to think about the fact that they are allowed to say no, but there may be some things that people do have to do if it's binded by law or moral code. And then thinking oppositely, if someone were asking you something, thinking about, are you required to do it? Going back to like, we want to decrease the people pleasing. So if it's something that you really don't want to do, reminding yourself you're not required to do it. And some things you may be required, it just depends.
A really easy example of that, something I think about a lot, is like, my boss is required by law or moral code to pay me for working. So if she would never either. But if she was like, yeah, I'm just like not going to pay you, like I would probably want to increase how strongly I'm asking to get paid because she's required. Again, maybe extreme and it would never happen, but just an example of that.
That's such a good example though, because it's like, that's expected. So that's when you know you're going to ask for something much stronger. All right, then we have number 5. Am I responsible for telling the person what to do? Are they responsible for telling me what to do? And I feel like this kind of goes along with like the boss example. You know, if my boss were to tell me like, hey, I need you to get this project done by this date, you know, I'm responsible of doing that. Like that's my role. So I need to be mindful of that. If I'm asking a friend a favor and I'm saying, you need to have this done for me by tonight at 11 p.m., you know, they're not necessarily responsible for that. So I need to maybe work on decreasing the intensity if that's not their responsibility. Again, giving someone room to say no if need be, but also being confident in it. Number 6 is what I want appropriate for the relationship, and is the other person's request appropriate? So it's important to think about the relationship that you're in, the level of vulnerability that you have, and kind of, what you're asking for. If I were to ask my mom for $100, that may be more appropriate than me asking a coworker that I just met a week ago for $100. The relationship are two completely different things. So I think just thinking about like the history of your relationship, the level of vulnerability, if you guys have asked favors of each other before, and vice versa. If someone's asking you for something, just thinking about is it appropriate. And number 7 is asking important to a long-term goal, or will I regret saying no in the long term? I think this one's really important because I feel like short term is so much easier to see, and long term is like way off in the distance, and it's something that so we forget to think about. So it's important to think about, is what I'm asking for right now going to affect us in the long term? Maybe an example of this could be like if let's say I'm like living in the house with my husband, and we have our mortgage coming up, but if I were to say, oh my gosh, like I really want these shoes that are $200. And if I were to say, listen, I know that we're trying to save for our mortgage, but I really want these shoes, they're $200. We can get the money some other way. This is just really important to me. Like they're gonna sell out. Like I'm probably not thinking about long-term how our goal is to pay our mortgage. We need to save up for that. We need to make sure it's paid so we have a place to live. I'm thinking right now, this is what I want. And I want it right now. And then vice versa, will I regret saying no in the long term? This is when someone's asking you of something. Again, thinking about that people pleasing, sometimes it feels good in the short term to appease someone, or to appease yourself by saying no when really you want to do something. So again, just thinking a little ahead of what's right in front of you. Number 8, do I give as much as I get with this person? And do I owe this person a favor? So I always like to say relationships are give and take. Sometimes it may look 50-50, sometimes it may look 60-40, sometimes it may look 70-30. It just depends on where you are in the relationship. But I do think it's very important that, in a relationship, that both people are capable of giving something that someone's asking, or doing someone a favor. So being mindful, like, am I always the only one that's doing something for this person? And being mindful of that and thinking about, why aren't they reciprocating? Or thinking about, if I'm someone that always takes, and I'm not doing anything for them, I want to be mindful of that as well. Number 9, do I know what I need and have all the facts that I need to support my request? Do I know what I'm saying no to, or is their request clear? So this is really about, again, like kind of doing homework before you ask for something. So I'm trying to think of an example of this one. This could be, let's say, okay, so let's say I'm like talking to my boss, and let's say that I'm asking for, I don't know, like 3 weeks off because I want to go on a vacation or something like that, which is like something that I would love to do. But anyway,
on brand example.
But let's just say I'm asking for these 3 weeks off. It's like something that's really important to me, but maybe I'm not reading up on like the PTO that I'm granted, and I'm expecting that if I get 3 weeks off, I'm getting paid for every single day, every single hour. That's something that I may need to like do some homework on to even make sure that that's even possible. So certain things that you're asking for, it's just like making sure that you know the facts of what you're asking for and that it's even possible. And then vice versa, making sure when someone's asking you for something that you know what you're saying no to, and that you have facts to back up your no. And then lastly, 10, is it a good time to ask, or are they in the right mood? Should I wait a while before saying no? Whenever I go over this one, I think about like when I was younger and like having to ask my mom for like $20 to like go to the mall or something, like it was really about, I need to wait for that. I need to find the right time to ask her. If she's just getting off the phone with someone and she's super upset, I'm not going to ask for that $20 because she's probably going to say no. She's still heated in the moment. So I feel like this is really important to just think about the setting and think about essentially like vulnerability factors for the other person or even for yourself. Vulnerability factors can include like if you're feeling sick, if you didn't eat, I know I get hangry, if you are using mood altering substances, if you didn't get enough sleep, or if you didn't get your body moving enough. Those are all things that can affect your mood. So just looking out for some of those signs in regards to yourself or to the other person when you're going to ask for something or say no.
This is like a lot. A
Yeah,
lot of questions.
that was a whole,
it's a whole thing.
Hour.
Which is why we break it down nice and concise and turn it into a homework. So here's the design game. It's beautiful, isn't it? I know, guys. I know. So here's how to look at this. This is a homework that we use in groups. Jelani, you can tell me if you had a similar experience, or if you have a similar experience when we go over this. This is a commonly confused homework page. Like it's a lot, and you're not going to do both sides unless, no, I would say like you're not going to do both sides because they're two separate things. Oh God, I wish I could like draw something on here. I'll definitely mess something up. I'm not going to do it. Roll with me though. If I'm gearing up, and this is going to be my example in just a second, if I'm trying to prepare myself to ask for something, I'm only going to want to look at the left side, and I can totally cover up. You can see my mouse, right? Moving around town.
Yeah.
Here. Okay. So you can temporarily cover up, decide how strongly to say no, and you can cover up all these questions over here. You don't need them. You're only asking. You're only preparing yourself to ask, and then vice versa. If I have to figure out how to say no to somebody, you just temporarily can cover up everything on the left side. Don't let it confuse you too much. You're either using one side or the other. Again, unless there's two separate questions, like I need to ask, but for something, and I also need to say no to something else. You could do it on the same page. I would get confused by that. I would probably want to use two separate pages. Do whatever works for you though. So how this is going to work, I'm like trying to monitor the noises my dog is making. How this is going to work is you're going to put a dime in your bank. You're going to add 10 cents to yourself every time you read through one of these questions, and on the left-hand side, the asking column, every time you say yes to one of these questions, you're adding 10 cents. Other side, if you're preparing to say no, every time you answer one of these questions with a no, you're adding 10 cents. So yes to the asking column gets 10 cents, and every no to the saying no column gets 10 cents. Questions in the chat if anything's confusing. The example that I'm going to roll with us, that I'm going to roll us through real quick is, if you've ever met me, there's a very good chance, I'm like looking at who's here. If you've ever met me, there's a very good chance you know this example. It's just nice and easy to follow, I think. I'm going to keep like a physical tally of how many cents I give myself here. But again, my example is asking, so I'm just ignoring the right-hand side, how strongly to say no. The example is, I need to ask my dad to borrow money. Let's pretend I have not prepared my dear man yet. I just want to know like how strongly I feel like I can come into this. My dear man script is not set yet, but I know I'm in a position where I need to ask my dad for money. We're giving us a throwback to Ashlee 6 years ago when she's a little baby intern. And she's like, unfortunately not making as much money as she thought she was going to make. So like I'm short on my car payment 1 month. So that's what I'm asking my dad for. Not an endless amount of money. I'm asking him for the cost of one of my car payments, which at the time was $325, if that's relevant here. And I think it is. Asking for 100 is different than asking for 700, right? Very first question here. Is this person, my dad, able to give or do what I want? Is he able to give me this money? Is he capable of it? I would say yes. Yes, he is, Dad. Thank you very much. So number one gets a yes. It also gets 10 cents. Is getting my objective, is getting this money from him more important than my relationship with him? At this time, I was also living with my parents. So like, no, it's very much not, car is not more important than my dad. So I'm saying no to that, and I am not adding any additional money. Will asking help me feel competent and self-respecting? For me, not everyone would answer this question the same way. Everyone's parents are different, relationships are always different, all good. But for me, I would say yes, because me getting this money means I still have access to my car, which means I can still take myself to internship work and grad school, which is important to me right now or at that time. Is he required by law or moral code to give me this money? He is absolutely not. He helped to give me the gift of life, and that he's not required to give me this car payment money. Car's in my name. I'm laughing because if he were here, like this question, am I responsible for telling him what to do? I'm not going to elaborate. No, I'm not. He would be like, yeah, right, Ashlee, get out of here. Next, is what I want appropriate for this relationship? Is it right to ask for what I want? Is it appropriate for a little baby Ashlee, intern, to ask my dad to borrow some money? Hold on, I'm going to answer this question. I don't know how it pops up for you guys when someone asks a question in the Q&A. I'm acknowledging it here though, just in case not everyone can see it. Can you share this worksheet with us after? And I also accidentally switched slides. I'm also saying it out loud. I'm not really sure why I'm typing it, but like if you guys forget, it's here. I'm saying email me after. My email address and Jelani's email address is on the very last slide. No, I didn't mean to go to it.
I also think we forgot to mention too that this video is going to be recorded and it's going to be emailed, I think, to you all.
It'll be emailed to you by this weekend at the latest, but it should be probably sooner than that. So yeah. You also reminded me we have several announcements. We were so excited. I forgot like 8 things we had to talk about. We'll do announcements probably at the end as part of our closing. So yes, this will get recorded and emailed out. The recording will, and you can feel free to reach out to Jelani or myself with questions, or if you want handouts of any of this stuff, that's perfectly fine. Okay. Is what I want appropriate for this relationship? I'm saying yes. It's appropriate to ask. Can't help but ask. Next one is asking important to a long-term goal? Again, a big chunk of the reason I absolutely need to make this car payment is to get to work, school, and my internship, so I can like stop being in school forever. So yes, absolutely is part of a long-term goal. I wanted to make sure I had the numbers right. Next here, give and take. Do I give as much as I get with this person? No, especially because at the time, like I said before, I was living with them, not paying any rent, wasn't relying on them a ton, but I was like definitely relying on them and not able to help out around the house as much as I would have liked to, as much as they would have liked me to, I'm sure. Do I know what I want and have the facts I need to support my request? I'm saying yes. I'm also in here giving with this caveat, part of what's going to be important, I was trying to think of where to say this, I'm just going to do it now, but part of what's going to be important is, it goes along a little bit to the reinforcement part of the Dear Man, but you really need to keep in mind who you're talking to and what sorts of things they're going to want to hear from you and what they're going to want to know. So I would know, no matter what, if he would take me up on it or not, I know that my dad is going to be more willing to let me borrow money, and he's going to be more likely to take me seriously if I break everything down for him. Like, Dad, I need $325 for the car payment. If you're willing or able to, I would like to actually borrow $500, because then just in case I need gas, or if I'm in a pinch, it just gives me wiggle room. But car payment's $325 and I would really appreciate it. I broke down the numbers a little bit, and I'm planning to pay you back within a 3-month time frame. Every time I get paid, so twice a month, I'm going to give you whatever that math is, $50 from my paycheck. So you'll have all the money back that you lent me within 3 months. I did my homework. I'm not like a poor investment at that point. Again, whether he would be like, yeah, you're definitely paying me back, or relax, Ashlee, don't worry about it. He knows that I've taken this so seriously. I created a schedule for how much I'm going to pay him back and how quickly and how much I need and how much I want. So again, I have the facts and I've done my homework. And hopefully it's not like, oh my God, Dad, car payment's due tomorrow. We don't have time for this. I need you to give me the money. Like, let's pretend that's part of it too. It's not due for another 2 weeks, Dad. If you need time to think about it, you think about it, etc. So we're saying, yes, I definitely did my homework. Okay, last one here. This is my favorite one. This is my favorite one, especially for this example, is a good time to ask. I'm saying yes because I know that I would not be doing this if it was not a good time. If anyone in here themselves or has a loved one or knows anyone who works or has ever worked shift work, then you know timing is everything. So my dad, for a very long time, and even still now, it changes a little bit with the specifics, but has always my whole life worked shift work. And for a while it was 1 week, 7 to 3 in the morning, like the afternoon, then 2 p.m. to 11 p.m., 7 to 3, 3 to 11, and then overnight shift. So I would know, okay, if we're in the middle of an overnight shift week, if I can wait, if it can wait, it's not a good time. Our bodies are not built to work overnights. Our house is like active. There's like dogs, like he's tired and grumpy as he should be, like fair, same, especially working overnights. Like he's not sleeping well. It's not a good time. If I can wait, I'm waiting for him to be on any one of the other 2 shifts would be fine. That's why I really don't want to get myself into a bind here. Like, oh man, I just realized the payment's due tomorrow. Dad, I know you're working overnights and you're like deeply unwell, like physically not feeling good, but I need to ask you this anyway. It's not a guarantee that he'll say no or anything. It just, again, is another layer that makes the situation very likely less effective. So we're staying on the head of it, and I'm waiting. I'm waiting for my moment when he's in a good mood, post a really good dinner or something. I don't know. I'm waiting for the ideal time. All right. Quickly, I'm going to take a tally. I have 60 cents, which means, again, I said yes to 6 of those questions. Last thing to keep in mind here, you can make adjustments for your wise mind. We're not going to have a ton of time to do wise mind justice today, but the shortest version of wise mind that I can think of is like your gut. Like it just feels right or it doesn't feel right. If you've ever, it's more than that for sure. But if you've ever had the like, it's really hard to put into words, but like the situation, the place, the person I'm talking to, it just doesn't feel right. I don't feel right about this, or I can't explain it. I'm just meant to go to this school, or I'm meant to work here. That's probably your wise mind, that feeling. And again, that's just part of it. So if your initial thing of 60 cents, Jelani's going to talk about what the 60 cents actually means in a second. But if your initial thought is like, I don't know, you have the freedom to adjust this number depending on what your wise mind is telling you. And again, if I'm not 2 weeks ahead of time for this car payment, if the car payment's due tomorrow, my wise mind might be like, right, it's 60 cents, but like amp it up because the car payment's due tomorrow. Like this is really time sensitive. So the time sensitivity might make the intensity more urgent. And there's all sorts of factors that can affect this. Like, I don't know. If it ends up being a good mood, and then, I don't know, I'm like standing in the kitchen talking to my dad and he like burnt dinner and he's frustrated because now he's going to be late to work or something like that. Like immediately, again, if it's a situation where it can wait, like, no, okay, it's officially not a good time, which takes us to 50 cents, which is not, I would like it to be stronger. I'm not asking right now, again, if possible. And yes, you would just follow the same steps if you're figuring out how to say no to somebody. Somebody's asking me for money. My favorite thing is like, if Jelani were to ask me, hey, Ashlee, can I borrow $1,000? Like, do you have a spare $1,000? can I give this person what is wanted? Not really. Like that's a quick no. Even if everything else is a yes, if I don't have it, I can't really give it to you. So anyway, again, you would just give yourself 10 cents for every no you say over here, but everything else is the same. Add them up and then make any adjustments if necessary, depending on what your wise mind might be saying. So keeping in mind that for our example here, we got 60 cents. And then take it away.
So what I'll do is I'll just go over the 60 cents first, just because we're going off of the example, and then I'll just kind of backtrack. So we're looking at 60 cents on the left side for asking. So that says ask confidently and take no. That's meaning when I ask for that money, I want to kind of, and confidently, I guess, thinking about like your body posture, thinking about your eye contact, and thinking about the tone that you're using.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to be like, can I have like $350? You know, like that's not really showing that I really want it. So you're asking confidently. However, the taking no isn't important. This is when you're telling yourself this person can say no. And if they do say no, I'm not giving them extreme amount of pushback on their no, because they are allowed to say no based off of the questions that we answered. So I think that's really important. Taking no doesn't mean what you're asking for is not important to you. It's just that they may say no, and you may have to accept that, as hard and sucky as that is. So then to bring it back, I'm going back to the 0 to 10 cents at the top. So this is saying you're not asking and you're not hinting. So this just kind of means they're not really in a space where they're capable to give you what you want. You're not really asking for it, because at that point they can't do it. Or
you're completely out of line for asking. Like, should I ask Jelani to go get drugs? It's probably going to be no. Like we didn't do it, but the score would probably be very low. So that's what I think about for that one too.
Right. It's just like out of pocket. It's just, you're not even gonna, you're not even gonna ask.
Don't even say it.
And I guess similarly to the other side, saying no. If it's 0 to 10 cents and you're talking about saying no, this is when you're going to just do it without being asked. It's just like, it's something that's so simple and easy for you that it's just kind of like, I'm gonna just do this. You don't need to ask me for this. All right, so 20 cents for asking. You hint indirectly, but you take a no. This could be like, let's say I'm in like the break room with my coworkers, and I don't know, they have like the new flavored Doritos, and I'm like, oh my gosh, those look so good. Maybe I want to be like, oh, like I've seen those new Doritos before, but I haven't tried them. You know, maybe that's me hinting that like I really want to try the Doritos, but I'm not actually saying, can I have a chip? And you're absolutely going to take a no here, because they're not, first of all, you're not even fully asking for it, and they don't have to give you a chip. Then for saying no, 20 cents, don't complain, do it cheerfully. This could be like, I don't know, if like a roommate asks me to take out the garbage, like it is my responsibility to do it, but I may be like really willful and not want to do it. I'm not going to complain. I'm going to take the trash out. It's my responsibility to do it. I'm going to do it even though it's annoying. 30 cents, asking. You're hinting openly and you're taking no. So maybe with the chips, instead of me saying like, oh, I've seen those chips, I really want to try them. Maybe I can say more of, oh, your chips look really good. Something like that, where like, I'm hinting more openly that I'm talking about your specific chips right now, not just generally these chips. And if I'm saying no for 30 cents, I'm doing it, even if even if you're not cheerful about it. So again, very similar to what I said about the trash, you know, it may not be my favorite thing to do, but I know I've got to do it. It's part of my responsibility. 40 cents, I'm asking tentatively, and I'm taking no. So with the chips, it's like do you think I could try one? You know, it's kind of me giving this person an out, but it's me kind of, it's trying to hint at the fact that I want a chip. And then I'm taking no as well, because again, they don't have to give me a chip. 40 cents for saying no. I'm going to do it, but I'm going to show that I'd rather not. So maybe I'm going to switch up my example here and maybe do, maybe, let's say, oh, okay. I'm going to use my mom, right? Like, so let's say I'm like making a plate of fries and I have like 2 more fries left. She'll be like, she'll say, can I have a, Ashlee, it's your face for me. But it's more of like she's asking for a fry at that point, and I'm like,
You had me at, there was 2 more
I
left.
got 2 more fries, and like I really enjoy these fries right now. So it's like I can give her a fry. It's not the end of the world, but it's like, man, I got 2 more fries left, and I really like digging these fries.
Like, sure, mom, I guess, versus like, yeah, of course you can have a fry.
Yeah, it's more like, all right,
Sure, okay.
you can have a fry, even though they're really good and I wanted it, but you can have it. All right, and then we have 50 cents for asking gracefully but taking no. And then 50 cents for saying no. You're saying that you'd rather not, but you're doing it gracefully. Again, it's just a little more emphasis on I guess for asking, it's a little more emphasis on how you're asking it and being a little bit more stronger in how you're asking for it. And with saying no, it's putting a little bit more emphasis on the fact that you'd rather not do it, but you're still going to do it. 60 cents for asking, you're asking confidently and you're taking no. So it's like, hey, can I have a chip, please? I'm being confident. I'm being short and sweet.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is what I want. But I also am taking a no as well. And 60 cents for saying no, I'm saying no firmly, but I'm willing to reconsider. So it's almost like short term, I'm like, no, like, I don't want to do this. However, like, if you were to negotiate with me, maybe I would say, okay. Like,
depending on new information.
Yeah.
Like, if your mom was like, I haven't eaten all day, you'd be like, okay.
Right.
Like, all right, take them.
Right. Or if she wanted to do a little trade, like, oh, like I have something over here that you may want. Like, okay, maybe we can work a little something out.
Done.
All right, and 70 cents. You're asking confidently and you're resisting no. So this is kind of a switch in the level of importance of what you're asking for. This means that what you're asking for is important to the point where like they can give it to you. And maybe like you've done your homework on it and like maybe they have to give it to you, you know, like this is when you want to give pushback to them saying no.
Like my dad says no to giving me the money and I come back with saying like, I hear you, Dad, I really know that it's like quite a bit of money to ask for, but like it's just so important that I make it to this job and like I can pay you back quicker if that would matter. Like I'm not saying like, no, Dad, you're giving me the money. I'm like, okay, like what needs to happen for you to be willing to do it? Like, it's so important to me. Can you please think about this?
And I think too, like this is when negotiation can come in on your part too.
Yeah.
What would you get out of it if you help me with this?
Mm-hmm.
Another side of saying no confidently and resist saying yes. So again, this is when I want to say I don't want to do something, but maybe they're peer pressuring me into it, but I'm just trying really hard to just stick to my no. 80 cents, you're asking firmly and you're resisting no. So again, there's more resistance because again, they're capable of giving you what they want, or they should be giving you what you want. And on the other side, you're saying no firmly and you resist saying yes. So again, it's just increasing the intensity of how you're saying no or what you're asking for. 90 cents, you're asking firmly, you're insisting, you're negotiating, and you keep trying. Maybe like I feel like I'm very qualified for a raise or something. This may be where I'm asking firmly for what I want and I'm willing to negotiate. If I maybe asked for like $2, maybe I'm willing to ask for $1. Because I still want to try and get what I want.
Mm-hmm. That's a good example.
And then saying no, you're saying no firmly, you're resisting, and you're negotiating. And lastly, $1. This is when you are not taking no for an answer. Like you are doing this. And I'm trying to think of like a good example for that. That's like, I don't know, maybe that's like a parent-child relationship of like, let's say the child is like asking to like watch a TV show and the mom's like, you need to like fold your laundry first. Like maybe the parent's like, no, you're not watching TV until you do this. Like,
You
no.
literally have 7 baskets in your room. Like, you're folding your laundry.
Right.
Netflix doesn't exist until you're done.
Right. Concrete.
Goodbye. Let me know if you need help.
Yeah. So it's basically like you're not budging on either end. You're not budging with what you're asking for. Or you're not budging when you're saying no to something. I think a lot of times with saying no with $1 too, like thinking about just like your boundaries. If someone were to like impede on your boundaries, like no is like very firm and not giving in with that. So yeah, definitely put some questions in the chat if you do feel like you have them. I know I kind of went through this quickly. I'm just noticing time. But I'm really happy to answer any questions you may have about this sense.
Yeah, and that is the last slide. So I can go back if anyone wants like a refresher. Again, like Jelani said, this is going to be recorded and emailed out to everyone. And if anyone has questions, our email addresses are right here. So please feel free to reach out. I'm just pulling up our announcements, going a little backwards for today. Couple of things. Again, you're going to receive an email with the link to the replay probably by Friday. And all of these webinars are live and public on our YouTube channel. Just search up DBT of South Jersey and you'll see all of our webinars uploaded to YouTube for the last year or so, almost a year. I also run a free family support group, mostly workshop, every single month. That's coming up in a couple of weeks, Monday, October 24th. I'm giving an overview of the middle path curriculum. Our next DBT skills session is with Chris and one of our interns, Kaylin. They're going to be talking about the window of tolerance. That's coming up November 10th at 5. Mindful yoga with Alex can be in person or virtual. That's coming up Monday, November 14th, 6 p.m. virtual through Zoom or in our Voorhees office. If you are interested in signing up, I'm like reading this so I don't miss anything. If you're interested in signing up for that, you can email Alex directly. And I think I will just put Alex's email directly in the chat. All of this will be on our website anyway, but if you're like, oh my God, yeah, I got to get up in there, email Alex if you want to go in person. If not, you can sign up for all of those free workshops the exact same way you signed up for this, just probably a different tab. Yeah, and again, all of those are free and open to anybody. Are you sick of our voices yet? I always get worried about that. All right, going once, going twice with any questions, comments, concerns. Here we go. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome, Amy. Thank you so much for coming.
You're welcome, Amy Lynn.
All right, Jelani and I are going to hang out, I think, just for like another minute or so, but everyone feel free to leave. Thank you so much for coming. Be on the lookout for the recording within the next day or so. And have a great rest of your night. Thank you so much.
Thank you all for coming. Hope you enjoyed, learned something new.
I guess I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna stop recording here.